Lake Chickamauga Giant Big Bass Factory. Let's go. Gonna here at the first week of April. Water's a little low. Things have been a little tougher than normal. I don't think Lake of Chickamauga is what it once was, but it's still pretty good. So it's kind of a grinder out there for the first week of April. You're thinking gonna be a blowout, but we're gonna have to try to figure out. Got a couple fish on beds, couple fish. Hopefully we can catch crank in, do some stuff like that. I'm gonna have to mix it up a little bit. We got some storms coming in tonight, the day before the tournament. We got an off day. We had 3 full days of practice, and then we've got this off day. Things are going to be interesting, so let's hopefully we can put on a little bit of a show. Let's go. 4:30. First things first, had to get those bedfish out of my system, so I went straight to the area that I saw the most bedfish. Man, you know, pitch that destroyer over in there, set the hook. I knew I had a good one, threw it in the boat, started the tournament in the first 10 minutes with a 4.5 pounder in the boat. That was huge. Got crowded in there really quick. You know, that area, I guess it was a community type area. There was 3 other boats in a relatively small area. All the stuff that I wanted to fish, you couldn't really move around. I kind of got hamstrung in about, you know, half an hour or so. So I moved to another area that I saw a few bedfish the day before, or the 2 days before. And, you know, I just wanted to settle down and kind of fish my way to them. Little did I know, it was gonna be a little tougher to get all of the keeper bites in the boat. It kind of ran around, started looking for more bedfish. And that finally, after about 11 or 12 o'clock, that was done. I finally got through with that, and I had to go start running the crankbait pattern that I had been catching some keepers on in practice, and lo and behold, it was just, you know, a lot of short fish. And more short fish. And yes, even more short fish. Oh, yeah, nope, short fish. So, you know, at the end of the day, you go catch a bunch of fish, and you only have 3 keepers to show for it. Not exactly the kind of start that I was looking for at this tournament. 8.5 pounds, I was in like 78th place or something after the first day. I had my work cut out for me because a lot of the guys, they were able to focus, keep it together, and they caught limits. And it was almost 13 pounds, right at 13 pounds was the cut. So I had over 5 pounds to make up on day 2. Well, we weighed 3 fish for 8.7, and we're in 78th place. So not good. We gotta get some improvement tomorrow, and Not sure yet how we're going to do it. So see what we can do.
Two-time Elite Series champion kicked off the season with his second Elite Series win for Salem, Virginia. Good job.
3 o'clock. Good luck, John.
Day 2, I started out trying some different stuff. I went to a grass area where I had caught a couple keepers and had some quick bites in practice. I've tried that for about the first hour and I never had a sniff. And I never saw any other anglers even catch a short. That told me I needed to get out of there. Changed areas. Went down to that bedding area where I'd fished day 1. I felt like there was probably a couple more fish left over and started fishing and throwing around that Neko rig. And man, it didn't take long and boom, I was hooked up. Huh?
Team effort. Just kick him back over to me. You didn't mean to. That was just funny.
That's right. One down. Yeah, felt good to get that 2.5 pounder in the boat, get the live wells running. I said, okay, now all we need is 4 more bites the rest of the day. I think we can do this. And man, I saw some fish on bed. I messed with them. Some of them looked a little bit short. Some of them were really skittish. And ended up messing around with that for a couple hours and caught some small fish while I was, fishing around in those bedding areas looking for more fish on beds. It was the same old deal, small fish. And as we have kind of established, there's more small fish.
Or another 14-incher.
So then, by early afternoon, I was still just kicking on one fish, and I said, man, I've got to do something. So I pulled the trigger, moved areas, started bouncing around, started cranking and throwing the jig a little bit more. Wind was howling at this point. And I said, man, this is swim bait time. This is jig time. This is chatterbait time. This is crankbait time. And so I was trying all these power techniques, still catching small ones. And so then ended up, boom, I caught another keeper off a laydown on the mini flip. Felt like I was really onto something with that mini flip bite. So I was starting to keep the jig in my hand a lot as I moved around. Moved up to an area that I caught a keeper in the day before. I caught some short fish. I felt like there was a lot of fish in the area, and started working down this bluff. And all of a sudden, I lift up. My rod gets heavy. I cracked back on that casting rod, and she didn't move.
Ooh, yeah. Get out of the way, get out of the way.
That's 8 or 10. He's 8 plus.
You
know
at that. Look, that so much was not coming out, dude.
Good deal, man. Good deal.
Mini flip, baby.
I'm gonna get me a picture of you right there when you hold her up. That's a beast, boy.
fish, son.
Yes, sir. That's 8. He's bigger. He might be a little bigger than
Maybe.
Huh?
He might be.
He needs to be 10-5. You know it?
Yeah.
Freaking bigger. Hey, why did you hit the bigger when that pole went down like that?
Uh-huh.
I was beside myself, man. I just caught a fish. Believe it or not, I nailed it. I said it was a 9-pounder, and it was, man. It was a 9-pounder. You don't know the feeling that I had with that, putting that fish in the boat. I mean, that's like catching a limit of fish in one fish, and I still had a couple more keepers to go. I still had, you know, this gives me 3. I was like, man, if I can just catch 2 more keepers, man, I'm probably fishing the next day. I made that difference up. I made that 5-pound difference up in one fish. I knew that was it. I could do it. I still had time, and I was just going to keep that mini flip in my hand and see if I can, you know, catch another good fish or 2. And man, I went down through the rest of that bluff and never had another bite. Never had another bite. And I said, man, sometimes you gotta make some adjustments. And so I dug out of my rod locker, dug out a glide bait. It was a specific one I wanted to tie. It was a 30-acre glide bait because it stays down. That one's weighted a little bit more. I wanted it to stay down. I wanted to be able to work it and cover a little water. So it was about the 3rd cast, and all of a sudden, boom, we had a bite.
Oh, what? I ain't cooking now, boy. Yeah, I guarantee you that's a keeper at 16 feet.
Put that one in the boat. I said, okay, cool. This is 4. Now we got 4 keepers. And it was a small keeper. It was skinny, but it was a keeper. It was positive weight. I said, man, one more decent fish and we're in this game. We still had plenty of time to do it. And I had just picked up the glide bait. So I fished down through that whole stretch where I caught the 9-pounder and kept going, throwing the glide bait, throwing the glide bait, throwing the glide bait. Never had another bite on it. I only had 1 or 2 small fish, it looked like, come up and even look at the thing. So I kind of started mixing in the jig back again, the mini flip, mix that mini flip back in. And I said, man, something told me I need to move out of this area. I moved out of that area, started bouncing around and trying some different stuff, and ended up just running out of time. Did not catch my 5th keeper. I knew I was going to be short on weight, but I felt amazingly relieved that I caught that 9-pounder because that thing was huge as far as the standings go. Angler of the Year, making the classic, all that kind of stuff, huge. That fish was super, super huge. And the mini flip just came through for me. That mini D chunk on the back, I caught so many fish on that combo, and sure enough, you know, big ones eat it. Big ones definitely eat that. And I mean, if it wasn't for that 9-pounder, I would have finished down in the bottom of the standings. It would have been a terrible, terrible tournament. As a result, I ended up in 56th place, still salvaged some decent points, but man, I have got to get out of the 50s. I have got to get out of this, you know, day 2 only deal, and I've got to get back to making day 3 and maybe some day 4 cuts. Not a good scenario to be in. So looking forward, I've got about a month before we go back down to Lake Fork. It's going to be post-spawn. Conditions are going to be different. Might actually be wearing shorts during the tournament for a change. Might actually be putting on flip-flops in practice for a change. Looking forward to all of that, just kind of transitioning, getting some consistent weather, hopefully, and trying to just get my day 3 cuts back in regular basis, because that's what it's going to take to make the classic. I've got to get a little more consistent, be putting more decent fish in the boat combined with limits, and need to get it back on track just a little bit.